last week we stopped at electrolyte imbalances. And thinking about, because tomorrow you have a quiz that you're going to be going over some of the things that electrolyte imbalances and fluid imbalances. So make sure you look at the part about how you assess the patient, what kind of things you have to monitor for, kind of give you a way to say if it's a cardiac problem, respiratory problem, that kind of thing. Because that's the kind of stuff you're going to have tomorrow. So that osmosis and diffusion, all that kind of stuff come back again. Mainly because those are the things that help you understand the patho piece when we talk about things that are happening to the patient. So that's probably one of the things, hopefully as you guys are going on this time with it, is that you're seeing how important that piece is to look at what's happening to your patient. Y'all did so good on the lab test, I almost passed out the film kind of thing. So I was happy, I really was. I was glad y'all are still. Hopefully the connections are coming together. You're seeing it in clinical, you're seeing it in the patients that you're seeing there, and now you're able to kind of say what's that next level I need to go to as far as taking care of my patients. So we're going to be going into, the reason I did fluid and electrolyte imbalances, or fluid and electrolytes with this particular section, is because most of the things that happen with the GI or GU system all have some type of fluid and electrolyte imbalance with them. So it's kind of like putting the stuff together in your head that kind of goes together with the patho piece about what you're talking about with the patients. So that's why I put that, this is for me to remember what I got to talk about, because y'all know I'm hard kind of thing. So I did send you some stuff to look at as far as ABGs, because that's one that always, I don't care how long you've been a nurse, nurses have issues with trying to decipher ABGs. The nice thing about it is when you're working in an acute care setting, they always bring you the results and say, hey, this is what's wrong with the patient. So you don't have to try to figure it out. But some of those things that you kind of think about when your person comes in the hospital, you think about what they're at risk for. So those are kind of things that you want to be looking out for. When you're going to the National Council of State Boards of Nursing and looking at their website that talks about the testing for your licensure exam itself, one of the areas that they focus on is safety. So those things that you can anticipate for your patient, as far as sometimes it's going to be teaching them about how to maintain their health. But most of the stuff that they're talking about is how can you recognize early when a patient is having a problem and intervene before the patient actually has some type of downfall, which is part of the reason why you see rapid response teams are in every hospital. You know, not just because they're key, but it's because they're seeing that that's the thing that sometimes happens. And the issue that you have, especially if you can get the patient and turn the issue around early, is that you don't have a person that has an extended length of time in the hospital, so you're talking about length of stay increasing, but also the complications that kind of go with that, because complications always add cost, and they want everybody to be frugal about what's going on with the patient. More important to take care of the patient than anything, but that's one of the things that they kind of look at. So that was part of the reason I sent you out the thing about acid-base balance. One thing about that, which I think for everybody, is the more you work with it or you practice stuff, you get it better. So somebody can talk about it to the end of time, but until you can sit there and go like, oh, this is why it makes sense to me, what do I have to look for in certain patients. So as your life as a nurse, always think about a person who comes in with certain things, you got to worry about some of those acid-base imbalances coming in. Anything where you're losing GI stuff, you think about potassium, magnesium are going to be your electrolytes that are lost. So you're going to have a person that has fluid volume deficit from that. So that's one of the big things that you see. When you have patients who have a lot of burn injuries or crushing injuries to bone and tissue, those are things that release a lot of potassium because of muscle damage. So those are the people you got to worry about hyperkalemia. Those types of things happen to your patient. And then you have the patients who are acidotic renal failure patients. So a patient who has diabetic ketoacidosis, patient who has acute renal failure, those are also people that have issues with hyperkalemia and also acidemia. So their pH is really low. So in your head, you're thinking about, okay, these are the things that this person might have or going to be at risk for, so that's why I'm monitoring. So that acid-base balance thing just goes back to saying what happens, and your body's doing this all the time. You don't even have to think about it, but all the time that you're living and breathing, your body's actually changing your pH balance to make sure you maintain homeostasis. So the first thing that kicks in are the buffer systems. Now those are plasma proteins that are in your body all the time. So that's like globulin, albumin, all those types of things. Those are maintaining acid-base balance first. The next area that you're going to go to is the lungs. That's the respiratory compensation. So that's why when you have a patient who has an acid-base imbalance that's related to lungs, you can change them quickly. So if you got a respiratory imbalance, whether it be acidosis or alkalosis, that's why you can change the person's, put them back to closer to normal with their pH within minutes. So that's why a lot of times, especially if you have ventilated patients, you change the tidal volume, you change the rate of respiration. Those are things that are going to actually change your acid-base balance within 30 minutes or so. So that's why they'll say, do blood gas from the patient, make these changes on the ventilator, redraw the gases in 30 minutes to an hour. And then you're going to see a change in what's going on. Because that's the fast compensation piece. The kidneys are the things that take longer to come into play. So it generally takes about 72 hours for them to kick in. So that's slow compensation, that's on the metabolic side. Slow compensation means it's slower to correct. So metabolic problems in patients take longer to fix. Okay, so respiratory quick, metabolic is going to take you a while to change over. And sometimes it takes days. That's something you don't just get it switched around in 24 hours. Sometimes you're still, 36 hours later, 72 hours later trying to fix this in a patient. So just know that's the kind of thing that you're going to do. But you always have to look at what is the underlying cause. That's the major thing you look at. What is the underlying piece that kind of goes along with that? The other thing about ABGs, of course, is they talk about the compensation piece, which is usually people get it down pat, and then you talk about compensation, and people lose the absolute mind. Because you're thinking about what is going on here. When you think about a gas being compensated or uncompensated, I'm not going to ask you that on the test, but I'm just telling you why it makes it so crazy, is that people start seeing numbers over here and they try to go, oh my God, what's going on with the patient? Compensation refers to pH. If you can get the pH between 7.35 and 7.45, meaning that it stays right between those numbers that are considered normal, that's a totally compensated blood gas. So total compensation means I do whatever I need to do over here because those numbers are going to look crazy. PaCO2 is going to be up or down, a bicarb is going to be up or down, whatever it is, it's crazy. But I get a pH within normal range, that's considered a totally compensated gas. If it's close to it, it's partial. If it's totally out of whack, then it's uncompensated. That's all that compensation thing is doing. But a lot of people make you crazy because they're going, is the compensated or partially compensated? It's like, whatever. All you got to do is, this is where you're trying to get it to. And if it's not there, you got to fix it. Yeah.
That video, the introduction, explained it really well.
Yeah, because it's some people just get all, because the other numbers on the other side are going to look crazy. That's all, because they have to do whatever it takes to make sure you get the seesaw back to level. So if you think about it that way, that's the easiest way to do it. So in your life, you're going to see crazy gases, okay? Things that are going on with your patients because they come in with certain things, especially your diabetic ketoacidosis patients, patients who come in and take drug overdoses because they're barely breathing. You'll see all those kind of things going on with your patients. But all you have to do is kind of, the nice thing about it, like I said, is that usually the RT person comes up and tells you the person has this. They rarely just give you the gases and leave, but they usually tell you what the patient has. So just make sure you kind of look at that video for posterity purposes. I'll ask you a whole lot of questions on this because you're going to see it more when you get to NP4. Because we talk about it a lot more when we talk about ventilated patients and that kind of thing. But you have to have the groundwork now to see why it happens in your patient. The other part about that is you're also going to see some of that when we talk about renal patients because the kidneys are the third phase of what goes in when we talk about compensation for blood gases. So we get that mechanism is going to be impaired because the patient has renal disorder. So that's why you have to kind of look at that groundwork for that. And you can talk a lot more about it when you get to NP4. So now we have some conditions that we do have to talk about in the renal system. And the first one we're going to look at is pyelonephritis. And for some of these, you have to talk about the acute part, although your class focuses, or this particular section focuses on chronic disorders. You do have to talk about them because in order for them to get chronic, you have to have them as an acute process. So that's why we got to kind of talk about what happens. Now, you've had patients in your life, or you may have yourself had a UTI at one time in your life. So the difference in when you talk about a patient having a UTI, which is an urinary tract infection, is usually that's going to be confined to the bladder and urethra when you talk about this kind of patient. When you talk about urethra, When you're talking about patients who have pyelonephritis, you're talking about the infection actually going up into the kidneys themselves. So it makes it a little different as far as where your patient complains of pain. It also talks about that you'll also see a difference in the generality of symptoms that you see with an infection. So acute pyelonephritis is an acute infection of the kidney itself. Means that's as we're talking about the kidney that the person has. Well, two of them. You have to. So you have to go kidney. I can't draw kidney. That was reversed. You got your. What tends to happen is a person had a urinary tract infection. It descends up the ureters and actually goes into the kidney. So that a lot of times you'll see a patient actually start off with a UTI, but then it travels up because they don't empty their bladder. They have active bacteria there, so it ends up going into the kidney itself. So you actually have an inflammation or infection that is happening in the kidney. So patient has little different symptoms than when you talk about this, because there are a lot of them that are similar as far as symptoms go. So you're still going to have the pain on urination, burning on urination, that kind of stuff that you have with a UTI. The difference is when you have this pain, this infection now going up into the kidney itself, a lot of people actually have tenderness of what we call the CBA angle, or costophrenic angle. If you turn the patient around in the back, you know how your rib cage comes right down to the top of the diaphragm? Right over that area is where your kidneys sit. And so when you have a patient that comes into you, you're trying to figure out if you have this type of tenderness, just palpate right over where the kidneys are. They usually can't stand for you to touch it. A lot of people can't even sit with their back against a chair. That's how tender it is. So, but if you actually do this test where you put your fist there and hit them, they usually won't slap your senses down. But that's what you do to see if that's called CBA tenderness. So if they have that, it's a costophrenic angle is what it is. And so at that area, where you have tenderness, they usually can't stand it, lay on their back, sit against a chair. There's a lot of tenderness when you palpate that. They also have more generalized symptoms of infection. So that's the person that has general malaise, they feel really tired, fever, those types of things. Because with a basic old UTI, you usually don't get a fever unless you let it go for a while. Elderly people do, but healthy young people don't. You just have an infection. But when you talk about pyelonephritis, it goes, you get all the generalized stuff you get with an infectious process. So temperature, leukocytosis, so white count is up. You have bacteria in the urine, all that kind of stuff is going on now at this point. Okay. So this I need to reverse. All infections you need to reverse, but this one, remember, you got a bacteria going on in the kidney itself. That means depending on the virulence of the organism, I not only can have this issue where I have an infection here, patient can develop sepsis, patient can develop renal failure. So you want to make sure you reverse this process. So what I'm going to do, of course, is put them on antibiotics. Okay, so this person is generally going to get, and the ones that we generally use for UTIs, the old-fashioned ones, are Cetro is one of those. But you, of course, have to ask if the person is allergic to sulfa drugs, because that's a sulfa type drug that we use for a patient. And you got to drink a lot of water. Because that's the big thing, is that sometimes people do not drink enough water with Cetro. And they'll have a lot of side effects associated with it that sometimes you can get away with just by increasing their fluid intake, but sometimes they can't take sulfa drugs. Yeah.
Do we have any plankton?
Yeah. The other thing you're going to see the patient, they may be on a floxin, because there are several different drugs that are in this class that we use for antibiotics for the patient, but those are drugs that we can use for the patient. So Cipro is a big drug in that category that you can actually use for the patient. The one thing to always remember is take the medication until it's finished, not just until you feel better. Because if you don't, that's when the person ends up with this as a chronic type disorder. We get a person that takes antibiotics, and sometimes doctors do them 7 days, some doctors do them 10 days, depending on how many bacteria you have in your urine. That's really kind of what dictates. But some doctors just do a big thing. But if I ever have a patient that comes to see me and they have a lot of bacteria in their urine, I'm going to treat you for 10 days. I don't care how much you say, I just want to take it for a week, take it for 10 days. Make sure you get whatever it is you got. Okay? So you make sure the patient takes the medication until the end. You also want them to increase their fluid intake. You want them to urinate frequently. Don't just hold it because you feel like it's going to burn and that kind of stuff. We can give you stuff for that. I need you to go to the bathroom, because if I get rid of stasis of urine, that's going to help me get the bacteria out. Okay, so I want to increase your fluid intake. I want you to take your antibiotics till they're done. I can give you some things for pain. I can give you Pyridium, which turns your urine orange, so patients need to know that. So they have to, it also actually, when you talk about antibiotics and stuff like that, they interfere with some of your birth control things. So women especially have to do secondary birth control when they have these kind of issues. Now the thing about it is, hopefully this clears up and I don't ever have a problem. But like I said, some people just take antibiotics till they're finished, till they feel better and they stop. Or this continues to be a chronic problem. Sometimes that's going to be more associated with patients who have some type of congenital anomalies that go on with their urinary system. That's part of the reason why they kind of tell you about different things you're doing as far as women go with the neural tubes and all that kind of stuff. They worry about that during making sure you take folic acid, because that's one of those things that can sometimes be affected by this. But if you have some type of abnormality in the urinary system, that can be one of the reasons why this ends up being a chronic problem. But the vast majority of times it's because people do not follow the course of therapy or do this in the first place. So the chronic disorder is something that you worry about, especially because not only do you have to worry about the infection that the person has, you worry about if there's destruction of nephrons, so that the person ends up having some degree of renal impairment over the long haul. So those are things that you're going to look for in the patient. So not only do we look for, yes, I see bacteria there, but there's other things that we start to look at to see if they're in the urine. If the patient has protein, if the patient has CAS, those are things that tell you something else is going on, just more than just having this regular old pyelonephritis that's an infection kind of thing. If you start destroying things within the kidneys themselves, different tissue are going to be released when you look at your urinalysis on the patient. So yeah, you get your culture that says, yes, this is the bacteria that the person has. You know that's one of the things that you're going to do is make sure, that's one of the things in nursing that we do is look at our culture sensitivity. Yes, it is a physician function to do, but sometimes they're not making rounds till the evening. If you're giving a patient an antibiotic that's not sensitive, just like not giving it to them. So you look at the reports during the day, if something comes up, doctor doesn't make rounds till the evening, you call them and say, hey, this patient needs to be on this particular antibiotic. Because that's what you're looking at, culture sensitivity, that tells you that something is resistant. When you look at the report, it's going to tell you what they're growing. So they tell you if it's gram-negative, gram-positive or not. The other thing they're going to do is tell you what it is. Enterobacteria, enterococci, whatever it is that the person has. And then it's going to tell you whether it's sensitive to, they use the hospital's formulary. So they put the drugs that the hospital gives patients. And then they're going to have an R, which means the drug is resistant. And they have an S, which means it's sensitive. The lower the number, the better the sensitivity. So if you have something that's sensitive on 2 and one that's sensitive on 5, the drug of choice is the one that says 2. Okay, because the lower the number, the greater sensitivity to killing off whatever bacteria the patient has. That's something you need to look at anytime your person has a culture sensitivity, wherever it comes from. You want to make sure that because if they're taking something that's going to be something you got to worry about as far as kidney function or whatever it is the person has, you don't want people just taking stuff for no reason, and it's not really working for what they have. So always take a look at those. But what ends up happening over time that you can have is the person losing part of their kidney function. And when you start, not just looking at WBCs, you look and see if there's some of the things that come out on your report are that they have cellular debris, which is like stuff that's just coming off within the kidneys that are there. Casts are things that come off the tubules. Okay, so that's like the surrounding tissue around the tubule. Once they start dying off, then you have all of that that's going to be in there. Because those are things that you start to see over time. The other thing that you're going to look at, of course, is lab values, because you start to see that their creatinine, clearance, protein, all that kind of stuff increase over time. And those are not things that you want to see happening in your patient, because an acute process can end up being chronic, but that chronic process can end up being a patient on dialysis. So you don't want that kind of stuff going on with your patients. So it's just that once they have the acute infection, they can have chronic infections. That's why you want to make sure you get rid of that whole thing or treat it fully to the, just let it sit there, because this is one of those things that can end up being septic in a patient. And it's weird about it. It's always going to be, sometimes they cannot isolate what it is that they find. And most doctors end up treating it as it's staph or E. coli. Those are things that if you cannot, most of the time you can isolate things from urine, but you have to have a person that can do a truly clean catch specimen and tell you what it is that they have. So you have to teach people how to do it. So for a man, it's a lot easier, but for a woman, what do you tell them to do about doing their clean catch specimen? They need to wipe front to back. They also need to do it midstream. So you need to start your urine stream, and then you need to get your urine sample, and then, because it needs to be not sitting up next to you, it needs to be midstream that you catch your urine specimen. And most people go, I don't have my pee on my hand. You can wash your hand. That's what you just got to do. Or be catheterized. That's one thing. It's like, we do that for pediatric patients. We actually do that. It's a lot better specimen. But it's not fun for them. It's not fun for doing catheters on anybody. So that's not what you really want to do for a patient. But it ends up that you want to try to make sure that your patient has a total resolution of symptoms. And you're going to also teach them ways to prevent infection from happening in the first place. So that's one of those things. You're going to tell them things to do, meaning that you're going to empty your bladder frequently. That's probably a bad thing for nurses, right? But we're like camels. I swear. You feel like you'll ever go to the bathroom because you just keep doing stuff until you can go. So, but that's not a good thing for your bladder and for your urinary system. But it's one of those things you have to get out of the habit of doing. For women, you always want to teach them after they use the bathroom to wipe front to back, but that needs to be something they do. And that's pretty much, I mean, they tell kids to do that, but kids don't always do that, because you can have chronic pyelonephritis in kids. And that's sometimes what you'll see actually happening a lot. I have a niece that actually has issues with pyelonephritis, but hers is because she actually was born with a defect in her urethra. So she ends up having pyelonephritis probably at least once a year. She's getting better at it now, so hopefully she'll get that out of her system. But it is one of those things that can end up being problematic later on, so you want to make sure you treat it with patient. Then we have a couple of things that have to do with guys, because women can't have this problem. We have all the other stuff. So now we're going to talk about benign prostate hypertrophy or BPH, and then also prostate cancer. Now, one of the things that's, I don't think we do it anymore. We used to actually have a men's health program that we used to do through ACC for a couple of years. They should bring it back because we have Black, Brown, and College Brown this week. So John Legend and John Quinones are going to be here speaking about that this week. But we used to do a thing about men's health, and we bring in and screen Latino men and African American men for prostate cancer because they have a higher incidence of prostate cancer occurring. So it would be a perfect time to do it while they're doing it this week. But the first thing up here is benign prostate hypertrophy, or that's going to tell you, and the reason I kind of put that slash together is because both of these are things that result in prostate enlargement. One is cancerous, one is not. Okay, so benign prostate hypertrophy just tells you that's exactly what it is. The prostate gets larger, but there's no cancer involved with it. When you're talking about prostate cancer, you have enlargement of the prostate, and there's a cancerous lesion associated with it. Now, both of these happen as people get older. Men, shouldn't say people, it's only guys, because women don't have a prostate. Okay, my mother was so crazy when they said, do I have to worry about that? I'm like, no. All right, so this only happens in guys because only men have a prostate. Okay, so the thing about it is, though, the symptoms and that kind of thing, when you look at these, are going to be very similar as far as the presentation of when the patient comes to see you, or the similar complaints that a person has, because it's the same process, meaning that the prostate gets enlarged. Okay, but one of them is going to be cancerous, one is not. So this underlying symptoms are going to be exactly the same. The risk factors are going to be kind of the same, except for that the cancer has some other things added to it. So the first thing you know is a guy. Okay, the second thing we know, they happen, both of these happen as the person gets older. When you talk about BPH, it tends to happen when a man is in his 50s to mid-50s to late 60s and beyond. When you're talking about prostate cancer, can be in that same age group, but we also have a group of people that we have to screen a lot earlier, and that is any man who has a first-degree relative who has prostate cancer. So you can see it in Latino men, African American men as early as their 30s when you're talking about prostate cancer. So screening has to be a lot early. If you have a first-degree relative with known history, then you start screening them earlier. Otherwise, we wait till the magic 40 for screening. You actually should be before that. Men just hate it. The only time they want to come see you as a nurse practitioner is because your fingers are small. Because you have to do an exam. All right, so otherwise they can talk about every other thing that's going on with them with you, but they really don't like that exam. But when it comes time to actually doing the physical exam, that part of it, they're like, yes, bring the girl. Because her hand was, I got pretty big hands, so it was another girl that worked with us. It was like, yeah, send her. Because it's a finger. All right. So pretty much you're going to see the same type of symptoms in your patient. You can just remember BPH is benign. Prostate cancer, we have a cancer here. So what kind of things do men generally complain about? Because prostate fits around the urethra that's coming out to the body, coming to exit the body. So it's actually choking off, because it's getting larger, so that makes the opening smaller. So what's going to be our main problem? We have problems with urine stream. So urination is going to be one of the big keys you see that you start to evaluate people complaining of problems. They usually have hesitancy